Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jays Without Football podcast. I'm here, Jaden, once again, your host with Nick Winkler here to discuss the Super Wild Card Weekend, as the NFL has been calling it, and it was super, Nick. We had a lot of great games, so thanks for coming on, and let's get to it, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I mean, it was so good Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday was kind of a stinker, though. We'll call that stinker money or Monday wild card or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that, right?
That was like the second game I was most excited about, too, coming in, and it just did not pay out at all. Tampa didn't show up.
No, they did not. They didn't. They just, so,
disappointing.
Yeah. Dallas moves on to play your 49ers. So, speaking of, they get the win over Seattle, as pretty much all of America predicted they would. So, let's talk about that game, man. What were your thoughts and how the 49ers were able to just get this win and keep rolling?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you wanted to see as a 49er fan. I mean, you didn't like the first half, and they kept it so close, and Charvarius Ward got beat a couple times big. But it was nice to see kind of Purdy go out there, not necessarily struggle, but you could see him miss a couple of passes and a couple of tips that were almost picked. You're like, oh, no, is he going to get scared? Like, is this not going to work out? Is he going to really just kind of be that rookie, that everybody kind of anticipated for a little bit? And then all of a sudden, he second half, they made the adjustments and he came out and looked great. I mean, the guy, you got to at some point stop saying it's impressive what he's doing for a rookie and, last pick and all this, and just start saying that it's impressive for what he's doing as a quarterback in the NFL, because not many people put up the kind of numbers that he put up in this game. It was really quite impressive to see. In that defense, they showed up as they always do, especially in the second half, and really just put the lockdown on Seattle. And it was a tale of two halves. And obviously, as a 49er fan, it was much more fun to watch that first half of that game.
Yeah, it was. And the funny thing about it was Seattle was leading at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was Jimmy Ward. He made big mistake he made in the half and gave him the field position to make that field goal in the second half. So, and Kyle Shanahan even said after the game, you can't do things like that. So.
Yeah, especially with a veteran like that. Jimmy Ward's been around. He's one of the leaders on that defense, even though, he kind of starts out of the nickel. He's kind of lost his starting safety position, but he's still that guy. He's been around for a long time. And when you make that hit and you give him a chance to get that late field goal, the second half could have been a lot different after that going down like that in the first half. The Niners really could have come out flat and really just been like, oh, man, how do we not have the lead? This and that. But they didn't. To their credit, I'm sure they went in. I'm sure Kyle talked about it. I'm sure he got everybody fired up. And again, we saw what happened in the second half.
And just an onslaught
of
points. Debo Samuel getting involved. Christian McCaffrey, of course. Even Elijah Mitchell got some good touches. So I just love how the 49ers spread the ball around to all the different pieces. Brandon Ayuk. George Kittle. It's just like so many players that you just can't even remember them all.
You can't take away just one guy, because if you do that, that's going to leave one of those guys you mentioned open.
Yes. So, and I have to give Seattle credit too, man. It's been a funky year for them, but they made it here. Geno Smith obviously had a great season. 30 touchdowns on the year. He had a great year, and he obviously wants to be back in Seattle. He's made that clear. So I expect him to be back. I'm sure they'll get something done for him, and we'll see how that goes in the future. But
I think outside of Seattle, I don't think anybody gave him a shot to make the playoffs, right? I mean, you trade away your franchise quarterback, and you start the season with Geno Smith, as your starting quarterback. A lot of people just kind of wrote them off. So I agree. It is impressive what they did. And if they could add a few more pieces here in the offseason, they got a couple of good draft picks. Thanks to Denver. So that'll be interesting to see what they do and how they retool, and if they do lock up Geno Smith. I'd be surprised if they let him go. He had a really good year for them.
He did, man. And this is a guy that's been a career journeyman, and I feel like he finally found his home in Seattle, which is a good thing for him. You always want to see that for guys, in the NFL. So he found his home there, and it seems like the 12 really love him up there. So. But great win for San Francisco. They move on to the divisional round to play the Dallas Cowboys. So what's going to be key in this matchup, considering what Dallas did to Tampa Bay last night, Monday Night Football, to get this win?
Yeah, I think if you're the 49ers defense, you just got to kind of keep doing what you've been doing, right? I mean, DeMeco Ryans, I'm a little concerned. He's got 4 head coaching interviews this week, so he might be a little bit distracted. Hopefully he still gets a good game plan set up for Dallas. I know that they know what Dallas does. They're not going to surprise anybody. They're going to come out. They're going to, find ways to get Tony Pollard the ball. They're going to find ways to get Dalton Schultz the ball. They're going to find ways to get CeeDee Lamb the ball. You got Michael Gallup. They have a lot of weapons on offense. And the 49ers defense, I hope come prepared. I mean, this is the first game for Nick Bosa where he didn't register a single stat. He got no pressures on the quarterback, no sacks. He got a couple of half tackles here and there, but that's to him is not a great game because what Seattle did was they tried to take Nick Bosa out, and you saw the other guy step up. You saw a big game from Menahu. You saw that early sack by Armstead, which was a huge drive stopper. And so hopefully the defense is ready to go. And back on offense, I think that if you've got so many weapons, we talk about them. That's easy. Get your guys the ball in space and kind of see what they can do. But for that offensive line, it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle Micah Parsons because he's, clearly one of the best defensive rushers in football. He led the NFL in quarterback pressures. So you can kind of handle him and hope, he doesn't disrupt what Brock Purdy's trying to do back there. I think they're going to have another solid day. If Micah Parsons, if they don't figure him out, then it might be a long day for that 49ers offense. So I think that's the key right there is kind of slowing him down and then just, Kyle will have a plan. He'll have something. He'll have quick passes. He'll have, ways to keep an extra running back in. Juszczyk's probably going to be looking for Micah Parsons a lot out of the backfield, chipping him, whenever he tries to get off of a block. And so they'll have something ready to go. Hopefully they can execute what their plan is.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, the quick passing game, right? Because Dallas's pass rush is so good. You saw Tampa Bay even tried to implement this, except it didn't work that well, but they tried to use the screen game a lot.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. In those quick passes, and it just threw the Bucs off schedule here. And so now they move on to the offseason.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady, Nick, we do this every offseason, or at least the last couple off seasons. So what?
He's not done. He's not done. It's not going to happen. He's not going to go out like that. I really don't think so. I don't like how much I'm hearing about him possibly coming to the Niners.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. You've got Brock Purdy locked up, for a couple of years. You have so much invested in Trey Lance. Even if you traded away one of those guys and got something, why would you go to he'll be 46 years old next year, quarterback who, he looks good when he has time in the pocket. And the Niners have a good offensive line and this and that. But it just feels like you'd have to invest too much money in him where you couldn't spend it elsewhere, right? They need to sign up Nick Bosa to a long-term contract. Yeah. So you can't go out and invest in a big money quarterback when you've got a young quarterback playing on an extremely cap-friendly deal. It just doesn't make any sense. So I would expect to see Tom Brady back next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up, in a place like Las Vegas. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended maybe even in Miami. Who knows where there could be a reunion back in New England with him. I honestly don't know what Tom Brady is going to do. The only thing I have a strong suspicion is that he will play football again next year.
Tom Brady, man. You just can't get rid of him.
You can't do it.
Yeah. And you said, I like what you said, they're spending money, elsewhere, because, again, it doesn't make sense to put all that into 46-year-old quarterback when you have clear spots that you need to fill. And, just another note here, man, Diomandre Lenore, I think that's how you pronounce his name, I want to give him a shout-out, too, because he's been getting a lot of hate. First play, but he played really good in that wild card game against Seattle. He covered DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who are two very good receivers. Total 15 times, about 16 yards total in coverage.
Yeah, he was the weak spot going in. I think I mentioned it last week when we talked. Diomandre Lenore, he was the weak spot on that 49er defense, and he showed up. He looked good. Like I said, Charvarius Ward was the one that kind of got picked on a little bit, which was surprising. Because he's had such a great year for the 49ers. So, no, that was a big step up from him. And Jimmy Ward's going to get a chance this weekend to really, kind of make up for his big mistake because I know Dallas likes to run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. And, he's that nickel cornerback right now. So he's going to be out there a lot, and hopefully he can step up. You might see them pick on Lenore again. He's going to be covering Gallup probably. And Ward doesn't follow a lot either. So you might see a lot of Lenore on CeeDee Lamb. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what the 49ers do with their safety help because Gibson's had a great year. What an amazing pickup he was for them. 5 picks during the season. It looked great again, in the game against Seattle. So it'll be really fun to see how the 49ers cover this Dallas wide receiving core, including Dalton Schultz, who had an amazing game for them.
Yes,
he looked like a stud. And Tony Pollard coming out of the backfield. And I'm not too worried about Zeke. I haven't been worried about Zeke for a couple of years here. He just looks slow. And, he's going to move a pile, but he's going to move it 2.5 yards and then fall down. But Tony Pollard is the kind of guy that he's very explosive. He's very fast. He's very strong. He's a good running back. And I think you're going to see a lot of Fred Warner kind of keeping an eye on him, following him around the field. And you got the best middle linebacker in the business. And I expect him to see a lot of Tony Pollard.
Yeah. He's just so good at slipping through those cracks. Man, I was watching the game last night, just the way he was able to just kind of slither through there and get skinny and get those yards. I'm like, man, this kid's he's awesome. So he's definitely going to get paid this offseason. So whether that's my Dallas or somebody else, that remains to be seen. But that's another conversation for a different day.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on. Yeah, we got the Eagles, of course, and the Giants in the divisional round. I'm excited for that matchup, man. Of course, the Giants, as we predicted, upset the Minnesota Vikings, man. What did you see that caused that, for the Minnesota to lose that game, and how were the Giants able to come in there and get that win?
Minnesota's defense is just not good. It hasn't been great all season, and they really got exploited. Daniel Jones looked good. He looked like a franchise quarterback. Saquon Barkley looked explosive. He looked strong. Like all the things I just said about Tony Pollard. Like when Saquon Barkley is healthy, he's even better at all of those things than Tony Pollard, and he looked healthy in that game. So if he comes out and he looks strong and they get him the ball, I think that New York has a very good chance of beating Philadelphia right now. I don't like the way they finished the season. They kind of limped into that number 1 seed, and hopefully they're a little stagnant because I'd like to see a really good game. I was hoping Dallas and Tampa Bay would beat each other up, so that one of those teams is, really just like bruised and battered, kind of like when they have to play the 49ers. Because I don't know if you saw the stat, but teams against the 49ers this year, after they played the 49ers, were 0-14 because that defense would just beat them up, and that's kind of what I was hoping Dallas and Tampa Bay would do. And Tampa Bay did not bring any of that to Dallas. So the one thing the Niners do have going for them, again, just to hop back to that real quick, is they played that Saturday game. So they have a little extra rest because Dallas played the Monday game. So that's actually 2 extra days for the Niners. And it's, I think, a 4th straight road game for Dallas. So a few more good things to lean in the Niners' direction. But go back to the Eagles. I loved what the Eagles did for the vast majority of the season, and they got a little banged up late. So this is going to be a good game. I think going into the playoffs, you said, it's going to be New York and Philadelphia, and round 2 people be like, okay, Eagles are going to roll through this. But then you watched, how New York just handled Minnesota and really put the lockdown a little bit on that Minnesota offense, which has been so potent all season long that it was really, really impressive what the Giants did. So I don't think that anybody's going to be kind of writing the Giants off really quickly, and they're going to give them a good look, when it comes to taking on. It's a division rival, too. We talked about it last week. A lot of these division rival games are tough to play a team a third time. This is the 3rd time these guys will be playing each other this year, so I expect a really good contest.
Yeah, it's going to be great, man. And just the way they were able to, just like you said, move the ball down the field. I mean, like, Daniel Jones had 78 rushing yards. And he can run, man. He can.
Yeah, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. He's got everything going for him.
Yeah, and the receivers stepped up because, the Giants for a while now haven't had that true number 1 receiver. I mean, they kind of thought
because they missed on it, right? They've spent all that money on Kenny Golladay, and then he's not it. He's had a horrible Giants career, So when you try to spend that money on that number 1 receiver and it doesn't work out, like, kind of puts you behind the 8 ball a little bit. So yeah, they've been struggling to kind of find that next guy to step up.
Yeah, and they thought Slayton could kind of fill in that role after Golladay just wasn't there, and he's played well. He played
good.
Well.
He's been good.
He's been good.
Yeah.
He's been serviceable. He had a great game too, as well as Isaiah Hodgins had over 8 catches for 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. I like how he played, man.
Me too. You kind of saw it the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season too. Hodgins really stepping up, scoring a lot of touchdowns, kind of being Daniel Jones's go-to guy. When he's in trouble, he's looking for Hodgins. He's big and he's tall. He has the makings of a possession receiver. I don't know if he has that real breakaway speed that he has, but possession receivers are great in the NFL. Like, as a 49er fan, Juwan Jennings is and before that, you had Kendrick Bourne. So you need those possession receivers. Keyshawn Johnson made a career out of being a possession receiver. So, if you get the right guys and they have good hands, like with Hodgins, you watch out. He might score a couple touchdowns this weekend.
Yeah. He had a great game, and just like you said, possession receiver, especially in the playoffs, man, because you just need those key first downs. Just
Move the sticks.
Move the sticks, man. Hey, all I need you to do, man, just get the catch, get the first down, move the sticks.
Fall forward.
Fall forward, yeah. So, yeah, but I mean, like I said, man, I watching Kevin O'Connell's face after that game, he was just like distraught.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, man. But other than that, like I say, the Jags and the Chiefs, and the Bengals and Bills. I mean, what are you looking forward to in those two matchups in the AFC?
I mean, that Bengals-Bills game just has shootout written all over it, doesn't it? I mean, that just looks like that might be a game that's like 45-42, one of those kind of contests. So I'm really looking forward to that one. A little bit less for the Jags and the Chiefs. I feel like the Chiefs are just a superior squad in every category. But that being said, Jaguars, they find a way, right? They just stick around. I mean, that's just incredible what happened with 4 picks in the first half, and then you come back and you win a football game. Like, that's unheard of. So it's just, I mean, how do you sit here and write off the Jags? Everybody wrote them off after the first half last weekend, and they came back and won. So I'm not super excited about that game. I'm going to watch every single snap, and I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that it's a good game because, as a 49er fan, we still don't like the Chiefs or what they did to us back in 2019. But it's hard to really dislike, what Patrick Mahomes does. He's a lot of fun to watch. And, all 4 of these quarterbacks in the AFC are really good quarterbacks, and I think they're going to be around for a really long time. So I expect some really good games. All 4 of the games this weekend should be really good and really, the NFL should be really excited with the matchups they have, right? A lot of high-profile quarterbacks, a lot of great storylines. You got the Bengals-Bills rematch, after what happened, and that's I mean, it's all storybook right now, right? You got Dallas, San Francisco, have this storied rivalry too, and you got division rivals in the other NFC game, and then Patrick Mahomes against anybody, and it's going to be a good weekend. I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully it can top what just happened in Wild Card Weekend because we had a great weekend of football, and now I expect 4 more great games coming up.
Yeah, that would be surprising if it could top like this past weekend of football.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just because that was good, so I'm wondering hey, what could be better than that?
Right.
So I think now are you a little bit concerned about Buffalo? I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, because they Miami hung around in that game. Got to give them credit, but I don't think it should have been that close.
I agree. I mean, I came on this show and I talked about how I see that as a shootout in one way, right? I saw it as Buffalo really just putting up a lot of points, and Josh Allen made a lot of mistakes. He can't do that in the playoffs and expect to win. He was good enough against a Miami squad to get away with those kind of mistakes and turnovers, but I don't think he can get away with that, against a Cincinnati team with that high potent offense that they have. So I think if Josh Allen can limit what he does when it comes to the turnovers and the big mistakes like that, then I would pick Buffalo in this game. But it's hard to bet against Joe Burrow. The guy is a defending, AFC champion. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm not rooting for either team in that one. I just want to sit back and watch some really great football, and I think we're going to get it.
Yeah, we're most definitely going to get it. So it's going to be a fun weekend of football, man. I'm so excited. Like you said, the storylines and everything. It's like this is probably one of the best postseasons in the NFL that we've had in some years. It's just fun, man. The high scoring offenses, and you got these great teams in here, and a few new squads that haven't been in a while.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun, man. NFL, any given Sunday.
That's right. Let's go. I'm ready for it. I wish it was already Saturday afternoon right now.
All right. But yeah, man. As we move on here, we do have a few coaching notes to this week as Tampa Bay has fired Byron Leftwich after last night. That was really quick. That came out today, man. And then the Chargers fired Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator. So, your thoughts on those two moves, man?
I could see Leftwich landing on his feet somewhere, right in a similar position. This was a bad year for him, and I don't put it all on him. That was a bad offensive line all year. So, but with Lombardi, I don't know, man. I can't. I think maybe if he wants to stick around in the NFL, he might have to kind of take a step back from the coordinator position and then work his way back up, right? Because that talk about a team that with such high expectations and really just another letdown. They did it last year too, not getting into the postseason, and then this year having a 27-point lead and then blowing it. It's like, yeah, that's not completely on him, of course not, but somebody's got to go when you have something like that. I'm shocked it wasn't the head coach. Maybe that's still coming. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's still in the works, but maybe this was his way of buying himself another year. It's kind of like, no, it was all this guy's fault over here. No, get rid of him. I'll be fine. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people thought Brandon Staley was going to be gone. A lot of Chargers fans were pushing for him to be gone, man. I mean, they were just killing him on Twitter, dude. Like, they were like, fire Brandon Staley.
Right.
So, I mean, I think Brandon Staley, he's had some questionable coaching decisions, as have a lot of coaches. This is his third year with the team, I believe. So, I mean, give or take.
And you talk about injuries too. I mean, I think that game's a lot different if Mike Williams is playing in it. I think that has a lot to do with it too. He's been one of those guys that just can't stay healthy. When he plays, he's fantastic. But I wouldn't be surprised, if they do keep him around for one more year, just kind of give him one more shot at it. But it's just this is a tough game. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, look, only one fan base is going to be happy at the end of the year, right? I mean, just the one team, out of everyone is going to be stoked because they win their last game and they win the Super Bowl. Every other team is going to be looking for reasons and excuses of why it didn't happen, and they're going to start retooling for next year. So it's a tough game, and unfortunately for Chargers fans, they have a head coach that can't seem to win a big one. So I guess they don't. They obviously, the Spanos family, I know they're their owners there. Maybe the general manager has something to do with it. I'm not sure why they're keeping Staley around. Or again, it could still come, right? I mean, it's not over. Maybe they got a little something going with Sean Payton in the background. I don't know.
Who knows, man? I mean, like you said, Sean Payton, it's been, a lot of coaching interviews this week, as you mentioned. DeMeco Ryans, of course, getting so much interest as he should. So I expect to see that continue to manifest here over the next couple of weeks, and so yeah, man. I mean, where do you think is the best place for Sean Payton to go?
I mean, if he could get that Chargers job, I think that would be the best place that would be available out of any of these head coaching spots. I really think that, or if he's looking for a rebuild, if he wants to start something from the ground up, I think Houston is probably the best spot for that. I mean, they got a ton of draft picks. So I think that if they go there, and they got a bunch of cap space too. So I think that if you really want to go somewhere and do something your way and not just kind of take over an existing system and try to fit pieces in here and there, I think Houston is going to be a great spot for that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where DeMeco Ryans ends up, actually, because that seems to me like he could go in there and really just get in a couple of key defensive players and really maybe they bring in a Jimmy Garoppolo into there. I think Jimmy's going to be one of these key guys in the offseason that where he goes, he's going to be able to pick, right? I mean, he's going to get to choose where he goes. It's not up to the 49ers to trade him somewhere, So I think that it'll be he to me is a big key piece this offseason to a franchise doing much better next season because he's a good quarterback. He really knows how to win football games, and it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see where Peyton ends up. I don't think he'll sit out another year. I think he'll be back. I'd be surprised if it's with Denver. I think Denver might have to settle for somebody not quite of his stature because of their lack of draft picks and the way they played all season long.
Yeah, especially at the quarterback position with Russell Wilson, and I'm just hoping, man, for his sake, because I don't know, man, he's a great dude, he's a great football player. I've always been a fan of his, and I hope he can get it together next year. So hopefully they can get that right coach in there, get that right system in, and he'd be able to go in there and be a successful quarterback next season. I hope to see it for his sake, and the team. So. Yeah, man, it's going to shape up to be a great, rest of the postseason, great offseason. It's going to be a lot of things just bubbling up here. I'm just excited for it, man, and a continued exciting playoffs. So any last thoughts here, Nick, before we get off?
Go Niners. That's all I really care about deep down. My heart bleeds scarlet and gold.
Hey, you know what? That's nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. So, make sure you guys catch the Divisional round this weekend, of course, Saturday and Sunday. Of course, Fox, CBS will have you guys covered with all those games, and it should be a fun weekend of the second round. So I'm looking forward to it, Nick.
Can't wait. Thanks for having me on, Jaden.
No problem. You have a good one, man.
You too.
All right, man.